able to join us live, and for those of you who will be watching us virtually at your leisure, we welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to have an interesting discussion with 3 panelists. Our discussion today is going to be dealing with cybersecurity and finance. Title of today's discussion is Securing Your Financial Data, the Internal and External Struggles of a COVID Commerce. So today, what I'd like to do first is start with an introduction of our esteemed guests. Thank you all for being here. Introduce myself first. My name is Teresa Moon. I'm Director of Business Development for RB Advisory. We are a local cybersecurity and risk management firm in Winter Park, Florida. We specialize in all things risk management, cyber compliance. And I've got my CEO here that's going to represent us better. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her first. I'd like to introduce the esteemed Regine Bonneau. Regine is the founder and CEO of RB Advisory. We provide cyber risk management, security assessments, compliance services, forensic audits, and privacy consultations for private sector and government clients. She founded RB Advisory after years of working in the risk management and compliance industries. Ms. Bonneau is a leading expert and practitioner in governance, risk management, compliance, and cybersecurity. Ms. Bonneau believes in order to create an effective governance, compliance, and security culture, there needs to be an understanding of each aspect of the phenomena in enterprise risk management and governance with insight and commitment at every level of an organization. Her career spans 20 years with a focus on people, process, and technology in the healthcare, financial, legal, government, and energy sectors from small to large enterprises. Welcome, Ms. Bonneau. Next, we have Phil Nahajewski. Phil is representing, CFO, Phil has nearly 40 years of financial leadership experience across a wide range of enterprises. He served as financial executive for large technology firms and media companies. He was the top financial executive for Bright House's multi-billion-dollar financial Florida operations. He has twice led the rescue of financially distressed nonprofits as board member and as a CFO. He has helped 9 tech startups in a variety of roles as a CFO, as an investor, and as an advisor. Phil now serves small and mid-sized businesses as a fractional CFO. He became the first Orlando-based partner of the Florida CFO group, and we welcome all of you that are joining us today, in 2019. He founded the Florida Entrepreneur Success Network in 2020, which produces meaningful minute videos in which experts and entrepreneurs share their advice. Phil has an MBA from the University of Detroit and is a frequent volunteer for nonprofit boards and mentoring programs. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Teresa.
And our next guest is Mr. Geoffrey Gallo. Jeff Gallo brings over 25 years of sales, marketing, financial, and operations experience in various industries to his role as Senior Vice President, Marketing and Strategic Consulting at an Orlando CPA firm, Grennan Fender. Using his broad expertise in strategic planning, implementation, tax planning, incentive compensation, asset protection, and estate planning, Geoffrey works with business owners to identify needs and solutions with a specific focus on helping them achieve their growth and exit goals. Leading the firm's channel marketing programs, he also directs building strategic alliance partnerships for the firm, bringing other professionals together to seamlessly deliver on all components of Grennan Fender's comprehensive planning process and value proposition. Mr. Gallo has held senior office roles throughout his career, including CEO in an international business venture in Eastern Europe, and more recently, CMO and COO roles for Houston and Central Florida companies. He has a history of spearheading the development of strategic alliance partnerships among companies, building organizational consensus through strategic planning initiatives, and consistently lowering operating costs and driving revenue growth. Geoffrey's well-rounded career experiences give him firsthand insight into the challenges facing today's business owners as they grow and expand product lines, penetrating new markets, and successfully exiting their business ventures. Welcome, Geoffrey.
Thank you.
So again, thank you all for joining us. I'd like to get us started today in our panel discussion. We're going to try to make this as organic as possible. What our topic focus is going to be today is that cybersecurity is not just a buzzword that's on the tip of everyone's tongue these days. It's a very real and present danger for anyone with an online presence and an FEIN number. And nobody understands this better than the three experts I have joining me today. Much of our personal data, along with financial data, is collected and stored by CPA firms and protected by your CFO at their desk as well. And your cybersecurity partners are along the way mitigating your risk as well. So I'd like, without further ado, to begin with our guest, Geoffrey Gallo. Thank you for joining us. Your firm has a fantastic reputation in our community, and no doubt the way you do business has changed since January 1st. If you could please briefly give us an idea about what your firm is best known for and how COVID has affected business as usual for your company.
Well, thank you so much, Teresa. There's nothing more that I love speaking about than Grennan Fender and what we do to help clients. Well, our history goes way back to 1975, and we're one of the last original founder CPA firms in Central Florida of our size. We're a full-service CPA firm for the second and third stage family or closely held business. What does that mean? It's that, $1.5 million to $70 million company, and the third stage goes above that. So we're in with the entrepreneurs. Our core focus, which I love, is accelerating success through financial clarity. You see that all over our website. What does that mean? We love to have the numbers first, so the transparency is there. So when you do strategic planning and execution, you know that it's right. Okay, you could bank on the numbers. We started as a tax shop, and we migrated as a necessity to outsource accounting because we oftentimes had great difficulty in getting accurate accounting information from our business clients. We started operations in 2012, and today our accounting department represents over a third of our practice revenues. This is pretty darn important. We attack the challenges of the business from the perspective of full financial accuracy and transparency. So, and that helps drive the growth and greater success through our strategic planning and value planning model. Our consulting department, which I lead, does a lot of that. As companies grow, they evolve to needing assurance services such as financial reviews, audits, things like that to provide third-party confirmation of their financial results to lenders or to investors. Lastly, through proactive and collaborative tax planning, this is like the last thing because success breeds great net income, and then the tax problem occurs. So I put that last because it's a byproduct of everything that we do. So, the big thing here is as we're helping the companies grow, it's going to take on a bigger and bigger tax burden. And, and our deal is to try to help them mitigate that as time goes on. At the end of the day, really, we're helping company owners achieve their dreams, okay, and prepare them for the most important financial event of their lives. At the end of the day, is the transition of their businesses. Now, Grennan Fender's got family business values, and we know what these businesses need. I myself come from an 80-year-old family business, 3 generations, so I have an entrepreneur's mindset and an intuitive sense of what has to be done to ensure success. Trust me, I personally have made every mistake and bore every penance that I've had to deal with over the course of time, and that, I like to say, is where my gray hairs come in and I can advise others and others in our organization. Our core values are real simple: professionalism, proactivity, collaboration, having fun. Every decision we make is based on these immovable values, and I will say that clearly. Our clients depend on us for objectivity, obviously, and those values frame our efforts, our actions, and our decisions. What were the effects of COVID-19? Okay, I speak about this all the time. It forced a far greater use of technology than we've ever seen before. Our firm, utilized things like Microsoft Teams, Zoom to economize on our conversations inside and drive basic collaboration amongst not just our own people, but outside. There's no longer a need to be on location. Clients are out of town or, recognize today that they can always be available for collaborative meetings with others. This changes, and I mentioned this the other day, line of sight management to a virtual but still high touch model, okay? And that removes expensive windshield time. We all know what that is, okay? If we don't have billable hours, we're not productive, all those things, we have problems. And the same thing with our clients. To tell you the truth, productivity has soared during this time for those of us who've taken that initiative to drive efficiency by being there, in quote, on demand. Managing our people for accountability, this more than anything. You've got a lot of left-brain people, accountants inside our firm. Everything was line of sight in their management of people. Now 90% of us are outside of the office, okay? So that means that our managers have to be more proactive than ever before to keep that connection. At the end of the day, to keep our people pumped up and engaged, especially during this never-ending tax season that just ended yesterday, that was absolutely vital. It has forced us to not just be technicians, but to become expert managers, and I think that is a very, very big deal. I like to say we are the one-stop source for answers. When I got the call by you about a month ago, the whole thing was strategic alliances. I'm a channel marketing person. I've developed this over 30 years. You can't have all the answers, but you can have the way to communicate with the client so that you can position the people with the answers seamlessly into your advice model. Back in March, I'll say I became a student of WordPress website management, MailChimp, social media, conducting webinars. We've done more than a dozen of them in the past 5 months, and this has pushed us into the marketplace as really the trusted source for timely information. And and when we don't have the direct answer ourselves, the people around us, like the experts in this room, will provide them. And that's really the model that I love to work with.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. We appreciate that. And next, I'd like to move to Phil. Phil, like I referenced earlier, is a partner in the Florida CFO group. You've established a strong reputation in the Tampa Bay market over the last 10 years, and you're now building a palpable presence in the Orlando market. Phil, RBA can attest personally for your abilities as a CFO because you do some work with us. But I'd like you to also tell us what your firm is best known for and how COVID has affected your business from a data security perspective.
Thank you, Teresa. Palpable presence. I love that description. And thank you to the RBA advisory team for giving Florida CFO group a chance to make its presence even more palpable. The Florida CFO group elevates small and mid-sized businesses with experienced financial leadership, generally on a fractional or interim basis. We're a team of 19 experienced CFOs, and what we're known for is being strategic and entrepreneurial. Our group was formed 10 years ago in the Tampa Bay area, and I learned about them by chance, really, by attending an event in St. Petersburg last year. And when I learned of how the group operated, I was really intrigued, really excited that they asked me to help them establish a presence here in the Orlando market, and hopefully it'll become palpable. What I love about the group is it's got this business model that's evolved over 10 years in a way that just continues to drive better and better value for our clients. The model attracts very high quality CFOs by giving each partner complete flexibility to shape engagements with our partners so that it best fits their needs, their budgets, and their work styles. We have incredibly low overhead, no agency profits. So most of what the client dollars goes for the quality CFO they need to help guide them. And when you hire one of us, when you hire me, for example, you don't just get my 40 years of experience, but you tap into the almost 400 years of financial leadership experience in the partnership to guide your enterprise to making better decisions and grow, optimize, and protect. How has COVID affected us? Well, our tagline is grow, optimize, protect, but in 2020, the emphasis clearly is on protect. The risks that businesses face this year. The risks are not just economic, but health and cyber safety, which is huge. This is the year certainly that CFOs, whether they're full-time with or professionals with a CPA firm or fractional CFOs with the Florida CFO group all need just to strengthen their partnerships with cybersecurity experts like those in RB Advisory.
Thank you so much, Phil. And next, without further ado, is my Regine. As a cyber professional with a financial background, what have you seen as the biggest issues facing the finance and CPA issues? And what compliance factors are to be considered in reference to this, please?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Phil and Geoffrey, as well, for bringing the expertise. It's always good to have the two guys that control the purse, right? that be able to understand, because a lot of what we deal with our clients at the end of the day comes down to the budget, right? The resources that they have, and how is that going to impact any other strategies, business strategies, business initiatives that they have as well. And what we come in to assist and talk about and make them see, especially speaking with the CEOs and CFOs, the C executive, is to understand that we totally understand, all the business strategies and initiatives that you have, because we are business as well. But at the end of the day, when you see if you suffer a breach, how is that going to impact all those business initiatives that you have, right? And when you're looking at in the financial industry, I don't need to say anymore, right? Finance, what is, all the issues that we're having, what is the root cause of it? Is finance, and it's personal, emotional. At the end of the day, it's about the finance, the purse, right? And we hear about the dark web, we hear about insider threat, people, your employees, internally, externally, being exposed. How is that? At the end of the day, all of that affects the bottom line, right? The bottom, either red or black, depending on which one you want to go to. You have to look at that. And when we look in, with CPA firms, financial firms all across, the issues about the data, right? The information that they have, the information on their clients, from the inception of an idea, right? And you talk about intellectual property, right? And we spoke about, I always say, the minute that you register your business, you become a target, right? Well, I don't even have a website. You're going to have a website. You have a computer, you become that target, because now, this is a new entrant to the market. So from that time on, the clock starts ticking. And how do you fix that? So with the companies that you have that you're protecting, the CPA firms are in charge of, financial firms, CFOs are responsible for. The data is the key, right? Is the key aspect. Going in, getting that information. It could be someone as novice as a 16-year-old that we heard that happened down south, just having fun, to a more experienced one, and we hear even higher up as nation states attacks, right? But the information not that we don't value, is we need to really assess, categorize, and understand the information that we have, not only on our companies individually, but also for our clients, because we're fiduciary responsible for it as well. So that information, it depends on the company I'm targeting, right? If I know who the representative is, I'm going to do as I can to actually have access to that information. And then once I get in, I do what I need to do. The CPA firm may not, not just CPA, the firm may not know that they've been hacked, right? Because nothing was taken that it can see, but the information was taken. Now you don't know. And as we go in and look at the trail, then we realize where it comes in. So you're facing that, and then you have regulatory compliance, right? You have that coming from different facets, right? Different states, understanding the states they're in. We have international clients as well. So we've seen a lot of those issues coming up within the financial firms. That's why a lot of the company they're regulated by are actually also implementing some best practices that they should follow. But those are best practices. But then again, before those best practices come in play, there needs to be some kind of understanding of where you stand. We call it the current state. A lot of us know about Sarbanes-Oxley Act that was in 2002 and why it originated. I don't need to give a history about it. Right, it's protecting fraud, right? So increasing transparency. But however, with that, as that transition from that, they see that, oh, wow, there needs to be a security compliance component of it because now the data is residing on a computer, right? On a flash disk. I'm dating myself a little bit. or USB, right? Drive, or, just our smartphone, right? Our email can be a very important information source for anyone that knows exactly what they're looking for. So there's security compliance in that. And that's the major bridge, right? When we say security compliance, is that where the compliance and security, we know how to protect the data, right? We know how to protect the client's rights and businesses, but now how do we apply that? So there's different ones that, amongst the other one, but some companies, depending on what they're doing, look into a SOC 1. SOC 1 is mostly focused on the systems and information that you're transferring. Is your system liable for the next company, the company you're presenting for their financial reporting? So now you need to provide that. Then you have SOC 2. And there's different levels as well. And that's effectiveness. How are things working, right? Is it working as we say it's working? And then SOC 3 is just a report that you can provide to someone outside for them to see. So we're seeing a lot of firms now that these aside from SOCs and depending on what you're doing, a lot of other companies are actually looking for those type of certification and process for their companies because we all intertwine, right? I can say I don't process credit card payment, but how do I get my payment from clients, right? Now I have to understand what that process looks like and how does it affect the next my client's reporting aspect. So it's not only just for financial industry. Now it's other companies that are actually protecting or collecting that information for them as well. But, we're seeing, Geoffrey mentioned it, and Phil also, is that there's a rise in it, right? A rise in targeting those companies, those industries, because at the end of the day, that's not your primary function, right? If it's not my primary function, what I'm doing now, how do I, that's not what I need to be concerned of until something happens. But what we're doing here is showing each industry, educating them to show them how, at the end of the day, we're all connected. It doesn't matter what we do. We all have a role to play in securing not only ourselves on a personal level, our clients, and also businesses that we represent. And now it's an add-on value, right? Okay, well, I know I'm doing this. What those questions start coming in because part of the duties that Geoffrey and Phil are responsible for, and we are, is what is coming down the forecasting for the company, what's coming down, and how do I help you protect it better, right? And that mindset comes with, hey, have you thought of security? What have you been doing? So those questions start populating. Geoffrey said we start from the finance and then come down, but guess what? We spoke about mergers and acquisition. We'll get into it. I'm getting off tangent, but all of that is part of protecting, right? So how do I start putting those questions in first? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a determining factor, even before you sell, as you increase, as you continue operating, and as you move on too, right? And sometimes now there's clause that follows you through for another 2-3 years, depends on what it is after you sell off. So, but yeah, so with the companies, the industries that are responsible for that, risk management now is expanding to more than just that one person in the cubicle and the guys downstairs in the basement and us trying to talk to everyone.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're here to speak about the compliance and the cyber issues within this certain industry. And so what I'd like to do for this next round of talk is have you each touch on how, from your specific expertise, from the expertise of a CPA firm, from the expertise of a CFO, and then from the cyber expertise as well, how do we maintain, improve maintenance of these regulations? And I want Regine, if you can briefly touch, since we're just going to expound upon where you are and then have the gentlemen hop in from their respective expertise as well. How do we provide assistance for these efforts? Because the two gentlemen that will be speaking come from similar industry, but different perspective on it. And then from you, from a compliance standpoint, you've already touched on the regulatory aspect of it, but how from outside of the regulatory aspect, from a cyber protection aspect, if you could take just a few brief minutes, if you would, about how RBA can assist businesses like a CPA firm or assist a CFO within an organization with services that we provide. So briefly, please.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. So, with our methodology and what we follow and is that as we come in, we have in the U.S., we have a NIST framework, right? The 5 aspects is identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, right? A couple of years, a year or two ago, everyone was like, it's not if, it's when, right? It's not if, it's when that you're going to be attacked. So I changed all that and I said, well, it's no longer if and when, it's how you respond, right? It's the how. How do we respond? We're all susceptible to an attack. It comes at different facets, right? There's the large one, there's the small one, there's incidents, there's breaches, there's all of that. Is how do we respond to it, right? And how do we respond comes to first identifying. So with our partners and clients as well in that scope, what do? We come in and do what we call a gap analysis or an assessment, right? Throughout that, we help identify what those risks are and bring it back to a compliance and regulatory aspect, right? Because the key is security compliance, because the compliance is this big and the security pages are that small, but then it covers the whole existence of the company. And we bring data on the table as well. So that's identifying, right? So in evaluating what those risk measures are and also what the risk appetite for the company, right? Because the company can assess its risk and understand, well, do I need cyber insurance or cyber liability insurance, or can I assess the risk? What's the amount? Okay, I'll take the risk because I have the funds to do it. Now, I know with a breach that just can start between 100,000 to 350,000, and not counting the fines that you'll be assessed, right? Can start into the millions. It comes into play. So we should start reevaluating that aspect and talk about it. And the protection is coming up with, well, here's what we found now. How do we put a proper plan in place to remediate that factor, right? And still falling into what the business needs are. It's the same concept for a larger corporation or a medium-sized corporation cannot be the same for a small size, right? But then again, we see small size that are doing as large, volume and depending on what they're doing. So that's why it's customized to what the business needs are. And then, putting those solutions in place, parameters in place. You have education, awareness, training, and that's a key component. I call it the human element because we can be Fort Knox, but there's someone inside, right? Pushing buttons and watching. So that one person that's not paying attention or that one person that comes in and something else is happening we have not captured, it can be detrimental. I forgot the name of the company. There was a large billion-dollar company. They actually they've now since, evaporated, right? Because of an insider threat, which is an employee mistake. Now, where everyone is concerned about the external factor, we help companies look at what's internal as well. I don't like insider threat, but it is the word that is used. And how do we bring this whole everyone in place to do that, and then put response solutions in place, right, to help get alerts or help identify these things, and then ready to respond. Like I said, if when something's going to happen, now how do you respond? It's no longer, we call it fire drill, right? It's no longer, it's going to respond, oh my God, everything's in uproar, but it will. But now you have a team that is ready to help you respond faster. Would you like to, because every minute counts, right? Every minute has a dollar number assigned to it. Would you like to be down for 24 hours or 42 hours, 72 hours, or a week or 2 weeks? We've seen many examples from cities to small businesses. Last year, before a 300-employee business went out of business because they were hacked. How do you, as a CEO or anyone, stand before you and say, in it's Christmas time, that, hey, going to have to close shop because we weren't ready for this attack. So all of that we bring into perspective, and then we help put those measures in place to help protect and respond when those things happen, because 1 minute to 2 minutes really does matter. So on what happens next, but that's a little tidbits of how we can help.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Regine. Phil, I'd like to pop this over to you next. If you could touch on how a CFO safeguards a company's data differently than a CPA firm might be involved in it.
Sure. CPA firms have a very valuable role for entrepreneurs. Their knowledge compliance is highly valuable, but their independence is absolutely critical, because independently certified financial statements is what raises banker and investor confidence. CFOs are different because we're not independent. We are on the team. So we're better positioned to address some of the human factors that are so key to executing compliance. Compliance starts with solid policies and plans, but ultimately it gets down to the human factors. The role of the CFO in the organization, be it a permanent full-time or part-time or outsourced or interim, we're the integrator. We bring together plans from all facets of the business, and by the very nature of our role, we are in front of a lot of the decision makers across a lot of the functions, a lot of the organization within the enterprise. So, we also are tasked with risk management, of which cyber risk is probably the fastest growing category. All that together, and I think you have a CFO with an opportunity to use some leadership to champion the cause of developing safe practices with cyber. We're the ones who should be the voice of reminding people to be changing passwords and making sure they have the right endpoint software on all devices. And we're avoiding phishing scams. We are just in a position to talk to a lot of different people in the organization, and we have an opportunity to show that cybersecurity is not merely a technical issue. It's a business issue, because these bad actors out there that are trying to steal data and just trying to steal funds can kill businesses, kill jobs. We're all in this fight.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate your expertise. Jeff, similarly, but from your perspective, can you discuss how a CPA firm differs in this aspect, and how you consult your clients, or the CPAs at your firm consult your clients and the CFOs that they deal with on a regular basis, which I know that happens, to best respond to this type of environment? Because I know that it is different for a CPA.
You're muted. Technical difficulties coming your way.
Technology, man. We're not able to hear you, Geoffrey.
But it looks convincing.
Yes, it does, right?
You know what you're talking about. Even when you're not talking, that's how convincing you are. So congratulations to Grennan Fender for finding the man. We'll give him a moment to catch in. Listen, I appreciate both of those perspectives from Regine and Phil. And as we're looking at it, I mean, it's an intimate relationship that you have to have comprehensively. And Geoffrey, once you are able to get back into that audio, feel free to cut me off. As Regine always says, I'll be here all day. So don't you worry about it. I can handle it from here. And we'll be glad to hop back to your response once we can, so we can go ahead and move forward beforehand. So please, no worries at all. But it is a unique situation that we find ourselves in, because we all are vulnerable because of the nature of the environment that we have now due to that remote access that we're all dealing with. And the unique relationship between a CFO and...
Can you hear me?
Absolutely. And I'm going to go ahead and zip it and let you cut in. Thank you. Stage left.
Okay. Do you want me to pick up? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Technology problem. Well, let me just address it from this standpoint. According to a recent Grant Thornton study, CPA firms lie at the top of the food chain for cyber criminals. I mean, so, we really have to be mindful of everything that comes out of the cyber security world. I don't have to tell you guys this, but the cost the cost to a person or a business is basically $150 a record. And the average number of records that are hacked is almost 26,000. I can tell you, we have thousands and tens of thousands of records per client. And it usually gets into the very deeply personal side of things. And so you have an issue of the public trust, and that's, again, part of the AICPA, the American Institute of CPAs. They're the guiding body, if you will. They're not the regulatory body, but over 400,000 CPA firms in the U.S. are members of, and they pretty much set the tone, the philosophy, the standards, the ethics, things like that all CPAs need to live by. So when you look at a regulatory body, there's no regulatory body per se. I will say, like, for example, I had mentioned the other day, the IRS, when the IRS says something and sends warnings out to CPA firms and others, we take notice. So back in August of 2019, the state of New York passed a law called the SHIELD Act, which is short for Stop Hacks and Improve Electronic Data Security. And essentially what led from there was essentially that in September of that year, the following month, the IRS issued a warning. When you hear that word warning, that's serious stuff, okay? So to tax preparers and accounting firms, that they are mandated to ensure that they appropriately secure. What does that mean? Their customer data against the evolving and sophisticated techniques used by cyber criminals to access their systems. And the warning identified several simple steps that firms can take to limit their risk of the sensitive data loss. So you think about evolving and sophisticated, it's almost, I take that to say, or to mean, you should have known even if you don't know. You have been entrusted. There's a public trust out there on your objectivity, your independence, and your ability to store data well. I will tell you that, when our firm started in 1975, and I'm dating myself because I was a teenager then, but everything done, and when I went to college, everything was done, I hand papers over if it was a shoebox or whatever. Well, I will tell you that the approach of the shoebox or the crate of papers continued right up until about 8 years ago. All right, and then emails took over. Now, when you send an email with a tax return or any kind of sensitive information, that is compromised. That is out there. Okay, and I will say that anyone who accepts any kind of information by email is not a pro. They don't know what they're doing. We specifically have a pipeline. All right, that pipe is basically a secure portal. All right, everything is communicated and uploaded through that portal. The staff are mandated; they're trained on such things. Okay, obviously the use of passwords, changing them every 90 days. These are some of the issues in the SHIELD Act. Anti-phishing software. All right, we got to make sure that it's current, up to date, and we are tracking any attacks on our system. I will tell you, and you probably have seen a lot of this, the level of sophistication of emails coming in from hackers, even from overseas, foreign countries, has gotten to be so good that I can't trust even when something legitimate comes across my desk. I actually had something from Geico coming to this on a claim that I made 4 years ago, and they wanted to pay a check, or quite frankly, what they asked for was my debit card number, all right, or my bank account first. And it was only after I checked down and I said, no, I want a check sent. I was literally going to call them and say, is this real? Because I've seen the level of sophistication of folks out there, disguise themselves as legitimate companies. Security awareness training for the staff. Literally, we have, during off-tax season, we have training, CPE, for 90 minutes every 2 weeks. Okay, so they are hitting specific things all the time. All right, backup critical systems, resiliency planning. What does that mean? Okay, all right. We are required. We have backups. We actually use a third-party source that hosts all of our software. The software, essentially, everything now is paperless. Everything is paperless. An employee gets penalized if there's any paper sitting on their desk. Okay, so that means everything is in the secure system. We actually utilize a group that specializes in accounting firms. Okay, and everything is housed inside of there. And this group is SOC 2 compliant. So you heard Regine talk about SOC. That came out of Sarbanes-Oxley, Arthur Anderson, Enron, all that stuff, and because of that debacle, we all have this requirement and mandate to do the proper planning, have proper backup, strong security policies and procedures. Everything is documented. Our people have to sign something every single year saying that they understand this, and this, which really outlines all the things that we've been talking about. And then incident response preparedness. Okay, what if somebody hacks? What if there's ransom out there? What if we have a storm and everything's down? Okay, all these things. All this stuff is very important. I will say, and here's the thing. The SHIELD Act, again, the state of New York, but the IRS sending this out. You have a fine of up to $250,000, but the litigants come after you for millions and millions and millions, and that's something that we are very, 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 very careful of, and we are educating all the time. COVID has caused us to say, all right, we take education so seriously. We are taking our team out next month off-site for 2 full days, 14 hours of training, plus team building and so forth. And one of the things that are going to be covered is this very thing, okay? The whole issue of protecting client data. What are your habits? Post-COVID, this has really caused everyone to take a fine look at things. I can't tell you, there was something three months ago, I get a phone call. It sounded so legitimate. I had to call my local sheriff's department to confirm that this was not from Social Security Department. And then there was another one from the IRS. They said that I was, they basically alleged that my local law enforcement was going to come to my house because of money laundering that occurred in these Texas cities. And you go, what is going on here? And it scares you to death. And if you are not aware of this because you're not talking about it on a regular basis, especially your people down the line, it's one thing we're older, but the average age of the people in our workforce below the 8 leaders is basically 32. Okay, so you got a lot of younger people who take technology for granted that it's secure and it's the panacea, everything's right with it. No, we keep the fact that our license is at stake. The public trust, is there. It's not mandated necessarily. I'm going to say we have to self-police because if we do have a problem and the authorities do come and check it out, we're out of business. Simple as that.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And it's great that the perspective is so different between each of you two. So I just wanted to move to the next step of some best practices. We are in a different world than we all are used to living in. And no matter what age you are, the level of competency at this point is irrelevant because we're all exposed regardless of where we are in what industry. Everyone's affected by it now. And it's a good place for Regine and I to be sitting in relation to cybersecurity because everyone's going to need us at some point. And it's not anymore the, reliance on the if and when aspect of it. We need to be it's present and now. So I'm going to start with you, Jeff, please, if you would. Let's look a little bit about how some best practices that you all are doing right now to lend to your constituents, to your clients, with respect to COVID, with respect to the fact that a lot of your clients are coming to you, with different needs than they did in the past. I know you touched on it a bit before, but I know that you've had to modify it outside of the training aspect with cybersecurity included in it, but just from a solidifying your own expertise, things have changed. If you wouldn't mind touching on that for a moment, please.
Let me see how I might frame it. Out of all of this, the mind share of the business owner or the senior leadership is far more compromised than ever before. They're getting things thrown at them left and right, and they don't know what to deal with first, okay? So how do you make, and this is what I feel is our core critical role, and Phil as a CFO gets it because he literally is the filter by which the CEO makes decisions, okay? So we, being very sympathetic to that, our job is to have a process to make the business owner decision process on initiatives easy. Number one priority, okay? So how do you help the business owner open up their minds to work on the business, right? Not in it, putting out fires all the time, but on it. When crisis pandemic situations reduce their time or paralyze their efforts because their revenue got slashed by 80%, right? Part of what we do in the process that has evolved, especially as a result of this, is we utilize, probably like you, an assessment process. It starts with questions. It produces an output which identifies the primary concerns, and it helps prioritize what folks are going to deal with. And you bring in the various resources seamlessly that are both inside of our firm and outside. Our process is going to reveal whether they need fractional CFO services, IT support, cybersecurity, benefit planning. It's going to look at the whole ball of wax and prioritize it and then bring it into a dialogue so that the conversation with the CEO or the main decision makers is made simple. Okay. Oftentimes, problems, as you know, Phil, they're addressed when the fire flares up, right? Okay. And then you are dumped with it and you got to go and shepherd the resources. Well, where do you go outside? Well, geez, if I know you and you know me and you know Teresa and Regine and these other folks, these things can happen fast and the filtering process can be much, much better. We have, rather than 20 conversations occurring on with 3 people, there's one conversation occurring with 3 or 4. You're shepherding that message, and it reduces or eliminates expensive conversation and replaces it with action and execution. That, when you hear that coming from a CPA firm, that's talking business. That's talking the tires meeting, the tires meeting the pavement, and we're not wasting time. 2, big thing, technology. I mentioned it earlier. What the heck was Microsoft Teams? We have it. We have Microsoft Exchange, okay, inside of Office, and I had no idea that was included in the package up until March 15th. Now it is. Now we got Zoom for outside. You got Teams. You got all these things, and now you can have instantaneous conversations in real time with clients and your people, and no problem. We right now, okay, I will tell you what's happening. We internally, and me as advice to my clients. I am encouraging daily 10-minute huddles. What happened yesterday? What went right? What happened that wasn't so right? And we put it on a list that's addressed at a weekly meeting. Okay, every single day this is happening, just to get a pulse of people on the front lines. What is going on? All right. I talked about accountability before. Okay, And transparency, financial transparency is one thing, but what are people actually doing that's producing the result that the client needs, right? And internally, what can we do? Well, I talked about the 10-minute huddle, okay, and as much as the left brain is stimulated, the right brain is going to be stimulated, okay? Emotion's going to drive dedication. It's going to drive commitment. It's going to drive a bunch of stuff. So that connection and having people feel that they're accountable, but it's not threatening. It's actually, geez, I have clear expectations for today or for the week, right? Very, very important. A big thing, which never happened before, all right, is you have a visceral, for a fancy word, deep, deep, deep focus on protecting your domain. What is your domain? You're the CEO of your most valuable asset. It might be your client relationship. It might be your house. It might be your family. And I always say, to my staff and my people, consider yourself the CEO of your place. What would you do if it's your family, your house, your career, your client? To what extent would you go to protect that? That's what we're talking about here, because the threats are so significant and dangerous. Problem. Remote workforce. I saw a study, over 12 years, 150% increase in remote work, right? How much do you think that's increased this year? Probably every service business, okay? I mean, just about everybody. And I say here, we are on the front line. So, the best defense is a good offense. This is being proactive. When I talk about our values, all right, it's being proactive, it's being collaborative, it's being professional. We're having fun doing it. Those are our four core values, all right? And in order for us to live those, we've got to have, we got to be proactive, and we got to work with other folks that are smarter than us. And that's the big thing about CPAs. They don't like to admit what they don't know. Okay. And that's true with a lot of attorneys. I think, the great thing about our group is we're humble. We're a group of entrepreneurs at the top level, and we understand that we don't know everything, and at my stage of the game, right, Phil, I recognize the most important thing is not the answer, it's the right question to ask, okay, because then I'll get the right answer from the right place. The things like, multi-factor authentication policy. I had no clue what that was 2 years ago. Right now, multi-factor, for those people who don't know what it is, you have your cell phone here that gets contacted when you put your password in to get into your system. All right, then it sends you a second message, text message or whatever it is. It's either a phone call or a text message, and you put that code in. You get in. You're protected that way. A big thing for us, and Phil, you'll appreciate this, and I think ladies the same thing. But as accountants, a big thing is separation of duties, right? Okay, it's a separation when you've got accounts payable, accounts receivable, so you don't have these things. Well, role-based action control, that's a cool phrase that I've learned. All right, what is your need to know certain kinds of information, and we're restricting, the level of information that certain people are going to get. It's on a need-to-know basis. I hate to say it this way. It comes off of the philosophy: never trust, always verify. Okay. Well, I want to say we trust our people. The thing is, I tell my son when he's driving a car, oh, Dad, I got this. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the other guy driving a car. Okay. Right. So here, this is the thing here. Folks who have a need to know, those policies are going to be fully understand. You guys help with the vulnerability testing, the scanning, all those things. I can't tell you how important it is. My constituent business owner clients out there, those are your stage 2 and stage 3 companies. They're established businesses that got net worth and have scaled, okay? These are the folks that are certainly at risk. You need to have a stress test done on your system of controls and use of information every single year. Every single year one needs to be doing that. And I'd say that the people on this call live by it. And certainly, I'm looking forward to getting to know more, of course, on how RB Advisory does it, because I can tell you that all of my clients certainly do need it.
Excellent. We love to hear that. And so that I'm going to let Regine jump in briefly. If you would, best practices, Regine, for our constituents that are watching and perpetual or potential clients. How can we best advise in terms of COVID and what to do next?
You know what, Geoffrey touched base on a lot of things, right? So I was like, I feel so proud. I'm like, well, I don't know, we did a good job. So, but with a lot of it stems from, again, the stress test, right? He mentioned, we call it analysis, could be a vulnerability, but vulnerability means, assessment, but we go deeper than that. We look for what we call penetration testing, which, done ethically and with the client's permission. That gives you more in-depth of what's really going on, right? It's not just something just scanning along the way that can bypass a virus, because they're so the virus now are so not intelligent, but so more high-tech than just that. They may not be able to be recognized or identified. So, that's one of the first things that we always say. Let us see what's the problem, right? First, you need to know what the problem is before you can fix it, right? Or even put a plan in place. But, one of the key things that we see, and, I said we could be Fort Knox and protect the perimeter, the people inside, right? Education, awareness, training. If I don't know, then how am I going to continue protecting the company? The company can be doing all of these things, right? Vulnerability assessment, pen testing, policies and procedures, access control. And all of these things are part of the plan that we generate and we help clients with, right? Multi-factor authentication and all of that. But if it's something in a language that I don't understand as an employee, then why do you expect me to do it? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to figure out, before I figure out and ask a question, can you explain this to me? I'll find a bypass, how to get to my end goal quicker and not thinking about the company as first, right? So earlier, Geoffrey mentioned that we teach education, awareness, training on a personal approach, personal level first, right? If you can understand how to protect yourself personally in your home, your car, and your phone, and your bank statements, your bank account, and all of that, now you can see the importance now and how it relates and transfers to the company, right? Because now, oh, wow, I'm doing my part at home. Now I see where I also do a part in the company. And that's the shift in mindset, right? Because, I can go back in college. I had an issue with my dean. I'm like, well, what's with 101? Oh, no, you can't do 101. I'm like, well, 101 in finance is for me to learn how to protect my money. But no one was teaching me that, right? Everyone was teaching me how to protect others. So that was our case. Well, you have to pay for it. I said, well, I'll pay for it because I need to protect myself. I need to know how to protect myself first before I can actually, protect the other people. So with that, we help with encryption of the data, right? Backup of the data, understanding and making sure that you're upgrading your platform, your software applications, all of the things that you do. Understanding who your vendors are as well, right? Those are part of, how we help and protect, because the solution is there. We need to configure it properly to meet your initiative. We need to also make sure that the people that are using it also know how to properly use it, also understand what at the end of the tunnel, what it means. And, the cost, there is always a cost, right? But now we outweigh the cost, the early upfront proactive cost to the reactive cost, then that is the thing that you come into play, because we always say, well, if you look at the value of your company and what your expenses to protect it at first, that's very key. And that's what you look at. And, we work closely with IT companies as well, because companies have their IT. Now once we implement a great security plan that meets the needs of that company, we work closely with their IT company to help them understand what needs to take place, and then how we come in to validate. And, part of a third-party risk management person, you test, you trust but verify. It comes where us and everyone else. So that's the thing that we do. Understanding to protect the data, roles-based access is key to everything, because that's the access to the kingdom. And phishing emails are a great way to get to you, right? But if I can limit the next person, then that's what we have to deal with. And we used to see that in a bank. The first person opened the door, then the second person opened the door. So the layers of security is in place, and we help design all that and then deploy it, implement, validate it, and educate everyone, right? And we educate them at the level that they understand, because if not, then it's over, right? It's over their head. Oh, yeah, I got it, but I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. And at that time, that's when you have a holistic and a very culture-driven cybersecurity mindset company. And it always stems from the top down, because, us as former technical, right? We talk all we want. No one listens to us, but when the boss says do it, everyone goes and get it done. So that's where we come in and we help and have things done.
Excellent. Thank you, Regine. I appreciate that response. I'm going to move to Phil. Phil, if you wouldn't mind, talk about how your CFO services. You deal with lots of different clients on a regular basis, and you also have a network of CFOs that you by no means, don't have an influence on, of course, right? And so if you could speak to them as well about how your best practices might affect, the ways in which you've worked with some of the companies that you're currently working with.
CFOs, especially growing up in the corporate world, get ingrained in a deep belief in the power of strategically allocating and effectively managing resources. And if you ask any entrepreneur, do you want to spend money on cybersecurity today? And they answer that question in the framework, well, my bank balance is not where it should be. I'm not making the impact in the market I should be. They think about what it's going to cost them with regards to other initiatives strategically. That's why I think progress in cybersecurity investment's not made at the pace it should be. What I suggest is the best practice for businesses is to incorporate a cybersecurity investment in the overall strategic plan for the business. Think about that you are really fighting multiple wars. You're fighting a war against competition in the marketplace, which has to be funded, but you're also fighting a war against the bad actors and the cyber criminals that you got to protect your business against, and strategically allocate funding toward that initiative so you make sure it gets done. That would be the best practice I would pitch. Another potential source for best practices, I kind of want to end up on this note, is I've been thinking about maybe Covet. They actually help us fight cybersecurity, because I've been thinking about the parallels. If we could teach people how to wash hands, shouldn't we be able to teach people how to change passwords? If we could teach people how to wear masks, we could teach people how to protect their devices with software. And if we could teach people to social distance from infectious situations, can we teach them to avoid phishing scams and emails with suspicious links? So my question for you, Regine, is should you be helping Dr. Fauci, or should Dr. Fauci be helping you teach good human habits?
I love it.
Are we still on?
Yes, we are. Regine, go ahead.
Yes, I am.
All right.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I appreciate that question, Phil. I mean, we're all kind of intertwined in this right now. And Regine, her famous tagline is, "I'll be here all day." And but she can't be, because we keep her busy, and this marketplace that we're in right now with COVID, and it keeps her busy too. So I appreciate where we've had this conversation allow us to go. I love the best practices that we've been able to present. I want to go ahead and close with allowing you guys a brief moment to talk about where your initiatives are leading you with your prospective businesses, and how the people who have been able to join us can, look to you for your expertise, and what are some things that we can rely on, as far as if we need a CPA firm, we're going to rely on Geoffrey. And if we need a fractional CFO like RBA, we do ourselves. We utilize Phil. If you wouldn't mind closing with that. And I'm gonna tag team with my partner in crime and my CEO Regine about things that we can offer in this time of crisis now as well. But I'd like to go ahead and Phil, I'd like you to go ahead, if you wouldn't mind, just leaving us with a few minutes of where you guys are right now with your business and what we can expect as far as you guys growing your market over here in Orlando, because we'd love to hear about that.
Well, we're definitely in brand building mode, and we did contract with a strong marketing partner here in Orlando, Feinsam and Winmore, about ready to launch our new brand and our new website in a matter of weeks. But in the meantime, we're doing some brand building with FESN, the Florida Entrepreneur Success Network, where we challenge experts and entrepreneurs to condense their decades of wisdom into a 1-minute video that'd be meaningful to an entrepreneur. So far, we've had 47 different experts and entrepreneurs do minute videos. We're up to 158 of them. That we try to launch one every workday on LinkedIn, FESN's page. And then if you go to FESN Tube on YouTube, we've now got them sorted into playlists like finance minutes and HR minutes, marketing minutes, sales minutes, and yes, cybersecurity minutes.
Yes.
So if you want a 13-minute overview on key cybersecurity topics, check out that playlist, and you'll get caught up on current cybersecurity issues, courtesy of Ms. Bonneau.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. Mr. Gallo, if you wouldn't mind giving us your thoughts and expertise and where you guys are headed with Grennan Fender and your initiatives going forward towards the end of the year.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Of course, being an older firm, our thing is all about profitable growth. Well, the whole COVID-19 epidemic here, pandemic, has caused us to really look at our advice model and our service model. And where in the past, folks would approach us for tax or for audit or whatever it is. The issue for us is like I mentioned earlier, our approach is going to be through assessment. Look at the whole ball of wax that's facing the business owner and try to organize their thinking and address things in priority order. This goes right down what Phil had talked about. I mean, even making cybersecurity a line item on the budget, is something that comes out of the strategic plan. More importantly, enhancing the strategic relationships. I know hundreds of people in the state of Florida that are in different categories of advisor or what have you, and thousands nationally. So the issue here is, how do I, with our process being holistic, trying to look at everything, how do we integrate those solutions into the discussion and it not be confusing? So we want to really get close with those companies that think that way and are not looking just to make a sale. For us, that all leads to value growth of a company so that they can exit. Essentially 2008 delayed a whole generation of businesses from transitioning their ownership. Now this again probably did the same thing. So there's going to be massive scaling of various companies, small and large, in order to take back that value. And we have to be there, as part of a team to be able to make that job easier. For us, the tactical initiatives going forward, I mentioned some. Website. We re-platformed our website, made it interactive. I personally am writing 2 to 3 blogs a week. Sometimes they feel like white papers, but we want to be out there as a trusted source of information. I'm basically going to be soliciting others, to come in and do some of that, and we share authoring, just so if we're a place that people come to, somebody else can benefit because we're providing that resource and that information to our clients. Educational events, I formed an organization called CEO Leadership Forums, which focuses on second stage CEOs. Back in 2015, we've had dozens of on-campus events at Valencia College. Phil, when you tell me about you're going to take these 1-minute snippets. I've got hundreds of hours of incredible speakers, advisors, CEOs that are in the limelight, like David Duda, Bill Yergin from Correct Craft. I mean, these names, like John Rivers, right? And it's like, I want to take those and just create these bite-sized things. I would have hundreds, literally thousands probably of those bite-sized minutes, and so we've got so many things there. One other thing, this is a big thing internally, and this is really for everybody who's driving value in their businesses. Process improvement of the client experience, of your customer experience. The most important thing for me is helping our people, who tend to be more left brain, of course, become more adaptable, more responsive, and more empathetic at the point of contact. And that's going to drive performance, productivity, and commitment of our people. That's the type of thing I want to be able to say is going to occur in our clients. Lastly, everybody's bombarded with PPP. That's the Paycheck Protection Program, loans and loan forgiveness. And all of those things have, those monies started to be released back in early April, and now they're having to consider, now that 6 months has gone by, they got to now, submit some important reporting paperwork to the SBA so they can get the loan forgiven. So we actually, a few weeks ago, acquired a software which plugs into any payroll services software and can automatically integrate it through a calculator, and they get this report beautiful. And we have like a giveaway cost to do that. I basically sent it out to 3,500 clients and prospective clients last Sunday. We got a huge response. We're going to do more. It's tiered pricing based upon the number of employees, but it's far cheaper than anyone else out there because there's so much automation put in the process. At the end of the day, I'm excited about 2021. Okay. And I think we have some major opportunities as a group, to make it a great success.
Thank you so much. And Regine, I'm going to have you close for me and speak to some of our compliance services and education and awareness programs that we provide.
Hello, I'm back. Multitasking at its best. But here again, I'll be advised. We've been in the region. Our goal is to really expand our clientele here in the Orlando regions, right, from top to bottom. Helping, educating. We're doing a lot of education, awareness training, especially now. Remote work, what's next, compliance. We have different compliance initiatives. You also have DoD subcontractors that have compliance they have to meet. And we're pushing to not sit down and wait, right, is to get that done because we're seeing a lot of changes, especially coming down on new RFPs and now requested on the current contracts that they have. So that's a large initiative that we're working on and working with our industry partners like, CPA firms, Phil, CFO, Mergers and Acquisition, Florida CFO Group. We had the pleasure of presenting there. And again, because we understand the value, right? We understand what they're doing and how working as partners together can help push the initiative for their clients as well. We're heavily in healthcare, so that's another, they help cure us, but we also go after them as well, huh? So we have to help protect the healthcare industry and working with them on that and looking to do that more and again, continuing with our education, the awareness training and moving forward and gaining, building that aspect with the clients and helping a lot because this is the end of the year and that's when we see a lot of things happening from the holidays all around the corner and that's when everything ramps up. So we're looking forward to assisting with that. You can reach us at Teresa will let us know, but rbadvisoryllc.com and see us on our LinkedIn page. But I'll let Teresa take that last portion.
Hey, I appreciate that very much. And like you always say, I'll be here all day. I can do this all the time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Whether you're able to join us live or at your leisure, we're going to be here. I'd like to encourage you to reach out to each of the panelists today for their respective expertise. We have Phil Nahajewski of the Florida CFO group, who I can attest and Regine can attest for his CFO services, and I'm sure that he can definitely set you straight in that respect. I'd also like to thank very much Geoffrey Gallo of Grennan Fender and my CEO, Regine Bonneau of RB Advisory. We're here to consult you, to advise you, and to set you in the right direction as it pertains to your financial needs and your cybersecurity and compliance and risk management needs. We appreciate your time and dedication to your businesses and joining us today. It's a commitment. And like each of the panelists have talked about today, it is what you know about your business that empowers you. Knowledge is power. And so if you're looking to have any type of insight on any of the aspects that we've discussed today, please feel free to follow the link and reach out to each of us. You'll be provided with the respective email addresses for each of the panelists. We appreciate each of your time. Phil, Geoffrey, Regine, thank you so much for your expertise. And we hope, as always, that like we say at RB Advisory, be safe and cyber safe always. And we hope that next time when we join you, it won't be under a pandemic warning and we'll all be able to be sitting at the same table together less than 6 feet away.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.